What's up? It's Skate Dad. You're probably wondering why I'm on top of my son's bunk bed. It's because it's raining in California and the Bay Area is expensive and there's no other place for me to do this review of rails. Rails are awesome. They are great. They let you slide on chunky curbs and coping. That's basically it. I'll get into it more. What I like about rails is they let you just slide on stuff. I was doing lip slides a lot and I could slide a couple of feet, but I really wanted to go further and I noticed the guys who were sliding further had rails on. So I decided to put rails onto my board, even though I've been skating this board for a couple months already, and I instantly love them. I found them to be kind of like the ultimate cheat code for doing lip slides and board slides, especially on stuff that wouldn't slide. Where you normally wouldn't slide at all, I was able to now slide feet. It was a night and day difference once I put the rails on. I could slide so much further, and while I was sliding, especially with lip slides, I felt like I had a lot more control because instead of being on like the bendy concave of a board and you're balancing on it, I just kind of sat on the rails and it was more of a flat surface and I found it easier to control. And I found that extra ½ inch the rails put your board up on the coping just made popping out a little bit easier, and I just felt more stable doing tricks on the lip. So I instantly was like, I love rails. And on all my boards for skating transition, I will definitely keep rails on it. I think if you're a transition skater or a curb skater, they're awesome. You know, if you're someone who's skating really waxy round rails, they might be a little bit too fast. Or if you're skating, I don't skate handrails anymore, but I could see how on a handrail you might slide too fast on them. My board was starting to get a little bendy. Putting these on really made the stiffness come back a lot. I ride my boards for a long time and I really want to get the most use out of them I can. So I find adding the sliders really brought some of that stiffness back to the board. The other thing I like about rails is if you have a cool graphic, they'll definitely protect your graphic for a while. As you can see, I skated this without rails for a while, so you see it's pretty grinded up, but not that bad. But adding the rails has really protected the graphic. The only mistake I made, I think I put my rails a little too far into the center of the board. If I did again, I'd put them further out on the edge. That way I could like do bonelesses and grab onto them and use them for grabs, where I put them a little too far back, so like grabbing it would be kind of awkward, where if I would have put it closer to the edge, that would have been easier. But when you're putting them on, you got to watch out. If you have a really, really concave board and you put them right on the edge, the middle might still touch, so then you might want to put them in a little bit. Another thing, when you're putting them on, make sure they're not on the wheel wells, because otherwise you'll get wheel bite super easily. You know, and you don't want to get wheel bite onto a rail. That would be terrible. So, I love rails, but I also do skate a deck without rails. This is my street setup. So I have a street setup and a transition setup. I'm super blessed to be able to have two skateboards. But the reason I don't have rails on my street board is I want this board to be as light as possible, and I want flip tricks to be as easy as possible for me. I didn't do flip tricks for years and now I'm coming back to doing them, and I find flip tricks hard, so anything I can do to make them easier, I'm gonna do. So that's one of the reasons I didn't put rails on this board, because it just kind of changes the pop and the sound of it. I know that sounds weird, but once you put rails on, the board just feels a little bit different. And on this board, I'm not really doing flip tricks. I'm just skating transition, so I don't really care about how poppy it is. But on this board, like, this Willie Santos board is great, by the way. And it's super poppy, and I wanted to keep that as long as possible. I might stick rails on it when it's at the end of its life. But for now, I really wanted just the experience of how this board is without rails as pure as possible. And I really enjoyed just doing flip tricks on this board. I don't do a lot of rail slides on this board, so I didn't think I really needed rails. But if I start doing tons of board slides on chunky curves on this board, probably put them on. So, I love rails. You may or may not like rails, but what I would say is when your board is near the end of its life, you know, spend 10 bucks and put on some rails and see if you like it. You know, because it could really open up some spots and some tricks you couldn't do before. So anyway, this is Skate Dad. I'm a fan of rails. Hopefully, next time I see you, it'll be sunny and I'll be at the skate park. Bye.